Okay, we're so lucky because each week we like to break down the 3 levels of government, and we have CTV's political commentator Scott Reid, who makes it so interesting and fun. Scott,
so
even
lucky.
for people who don't understand politics or might not know, you've got a talent for just,
Well, that's far too sweet. You're an actress, right? I can tell.
No, genuinely.
You do help us make sense of the situation. So let's start right here. Mississauga has a new mayor. They're only the 3rd mayor in that city since 1978. It's Carolyn Parrish.
Yeah, Carolyn Parrish was thought to be the overwhelming front runner, a lot of name recognition. Then it looked like it was tightening up. And in the end, she still won by a pretty sizable margin. I thought the interesting thing about the race, and somebody to watch for going forward, is who came second. Alvin Tejo comes second. Guy started out 4th, 5th, 6th place, Nowheresville. And then he makes a pledge to freeze taxes. And suddenly he's in 2nd place, leapfrogs everybody else and takes her on. My point is this. If you're Carolyn Parrish and you're the city council in Mississauga, you better pay attention to that, because it means that somewhere out there among voters, people are looking for a little relief. Affordability remains a massive issue. And for the new mayor and the city council to sort of shrug its shoulders and say, hey, man, we got a bunch of services we have to fund. We're going to have to do this and do that. They better be careful, because it feels to me like there's a bear that can be poked there when it comes to taxes.
Did anything strike you about her initial remarks last night? Just, talking about, how they're going to have 3 mayors in Peel that get along, and we're going to be looking for a new deal, that kind of a thing? Yeah,
well, it's going to be interesting to see the whole New Deal talk when it comes to the province and the federal government. I mean, look, let's put it this way. Carolyn Parrish is not known for diplomatic skills, kind of like a hockey enforcer, right? She sort of barges into the corners. We'll see how she works with others. She was talking good last night. It's going to be something to watch. And she is unpredictable. Remember, she shows up to one debate, right? Insults and offends a ton of people. Then they yank her off the campaign trail, cover her with a tarpaulin until last night. So we'll see how she handles herself as mayor. As candidate, she went into hiding.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting, after she made some controversial remarks, and then it was like no debate time, and then the last time we saw her was on our show.
It was a magic trick, man. It was like
to Nick.
She disappeared.
She still pulled it off. Okay, so provincially, how do you think Parrish's style of politics will go over at the Premier's office?
So let's go back to the point we were just talking about. Okay, how is she going to work with other levels of government? How is the province going to react to her? I think that's going to be something to watch, because Doug Ford's all about getting along with other people. Oh, my good friends in Ottawa, my good friends here. So he is the kind of guy that wants to get along. But are they going to be on the same page? Carolyn Parrish comes and says, I want a gigantic check from the province. My guess is the Premier is going to say, great idea, except you mean Ottawa. Go to Ottawa for those cash bucks. And I think it'll be interesting to see the challenge there. But Ford also knows whether he likes Carolyn Parrish or doesn't like Carolyn Parrish, it's immaterial. He needs to win seats in Mississauga. The 905 is seat-rich. It's where you get majority governments if you're in the province. Housing is Parrish's #1 priority. Housing has got to be his #1 priority. So we'll sort of watch and see what the tension unfolds. The X factor in this relationship, again, Carolyn Parrish's style. She can be abrasive. She can be confrontational. She can say things she hadn't planned to say. She can say things she should regret or does regret. It's going to be interesting to see how she deals with the province.
Yeah, we'll watch that. Of course, we're also keeping a really close eye on Ottawa, which, of course, where you spent a lot of your career, Scott. And we've got to talk about this capital gains, tax exemption situation that the Ways and Means motion put forward by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland yesterday. She's pitching it in terms of fairness, but it also seems to be kind of a way of maybe pigeonholing the Conservatives and maybe specifically Pierre Poilievre on how do they actually feel about this.
That's the whole play here, right? Typically, this measure, it's a tax measure that was in the budget, and there's a lot of controversy around it. Liberals think they're golden on this. They think that, notwithstanding advocacy groups that have been really vocal in opposition, that the truth of the matter is most Canadians will view this as a tax fairness issue. They understand why. Well, if I work for a living, I pay tax at one level, but if I own a bunch of stuff because I'm rich, well, then I pay tax at another level. That doesn't seem fair. They're trying to make that argument. But this is all really about trying to get Pierre Poilievre to take a stance on this issue. He has been covered in invisible ink when he's asked, will you vote in favor of the capital gains change or not? Because he doesn't want to look like he's on the side of the wealthy, but neither does he want to be on the side of a tax hike. So he's kind of stuck in the middle. The whole Ways and Means motion and breaking this out as a separate item is to try to put him on the dartboard, pin him down.
Well, and I tried just a little over a month ago. Here's a little bit of a back and forth with Pierre Poilievre, and when I asked him about this Ways and Means motion. Have a listen.
Well, you're asking hypothetical questions. We don't even know what the Liberals are proposing anymore. They seem to be flip-flopping on their own policy. So I would encourage people who are worried about this latest Trudeau tax hike to speak up, make your voice heard. If you think that a family doctor is going to be lost because of it, say so publicly.
Interesting stuff. Scott, do you think that it's...
I mean, this is a guy who comes flying out of the cannon on every issue all the time.
Yeah.
Hardcore position. I'm for this. If you're not for this, you're against me. And there you could just see him floundering all over the place, tap dancing like Sammy Davis Jr.
Right. So he spoke about hypothetical. Do you think that it's going to get passed?
It's real now.
It ain't a hypothetical no more.
Okay.
I mean, that was always a stalling line. I thought it was interesting yesterday, his office, they're engaging in debate. And imagine standing and debating this, but without taking a position. But his office did issue a statement saying, you know, talking about the effect this is going to have on doctors, on people who own property. That seemed like maybe they were leaning toward voting against. So watch that space. Eventually, they're going to have to pronounce themselves because they are going to be forced to vote.
Yeah, could be sometime this week, too. Okay, always appreciate these weekly chats, Scott.
Thanks so much, Scott.